Good morning, maybe good afternoon, Year 8, depending on what time you are logging in. Welcome to your first lesson in remote learning. You may or may not recognize my voice. I had the pleasure of teaching some of you at the beginning of Year 7. It's Mrs. Doidge, and I will be your English teacher this year, which is an absolute joy. I'm really, really excited. I can't wait to actually see you guys in person. But to keep you safe and to make sure that we all come back together as a school as safely as possible, we are doing, aren't we, that staggered restart. We are coming in stages. So the truth is I will not see you in person for a week, but we will be setting you online lessons, okay? Now, as you will see as we go through today's lesson, I'm going to say it's meant to take about 40-45 minutes. If you get so far through the presentation and you're not finished and your 45 minutes, your 40 minutes is up, please stop. The other thing I would say is that you're in that lovely position that you could do 20 minutes of the video and then pause and have a 5-minute break, get a drink, stretch your legs, and then finish, okay? But this is not meant to create any unnecessary stress or worry or anxiety, okay, my lovelies? And actually, it's the opposite. I want you to really enjoy working with me this year. So what I need you to do is in a minute, I'm going to ask you to press pause because I need you to think that in order for us to learn together, you need to find a pen. Hopefully you might have one to hand and you're going to get to pause in a minute. You're going to go find yourself a pen. I want you to fetch a piece of paper. Now, we do appreciate you've not got your books at home with you, so you've not got an exercise book, but you could potentially use a piece of paper, or if you're working on a laptop, you might be able to open up a Word document and move between the two. But we're going to find a pen. We're going to fetch a piece of paper. Now, I want you to focus on one task at a time. Okay, I don't want you to think that you have to do all the slides in 45 minutes or that you have to keep working. I just want you to take one task at a time. Okay, and if you get through all of them, brilliant. If you get halfway through, well done. And if you get through only the first few slides, well, thank you for trying, okay? So this isn't about doing everything. It's about focusing on one task at a time and working through until your time is done. And I wish it was as simple as just simply telling you to do it, but I would love for us to fall in love with reading this year. I would love for us to really begin to enjoy reading. So that's going to be our focus actually for these first few lessons. We are going to look at a reading focus. So guys, press pause, find your pen, fetch a piece of paper. Remember to focus on one task at a time. And if it was as simple as a click or a tick, fall in love with reading. Okay, guys, so hopefully you're ready to go. You've got a piece of paper, you've found that pen. So, lovely people, I have chosen to look at a really good book with you, okay? It's called My Family and Other Animals. And if you look, you'll see we have this cover of the book right in front of us. We're going to do some work on this cover together in a minute. So it is called My Family and Other Animals. Now, across the lessons that we have together, we're going to read extracts. We're not going to have time to read the whole book, but we're going to zoom in and focus on some really lovely extracts from this book. Now, I must draw attention to that lovely orange leaf, and it says Gerald Durrell. Okay, a beautifully old-fashioned name, Gerald. So Gerald Durrell is the writer of this wonderful book, My Family and Other Animals. Now, across the lessons that we're together, we're going to look to learn some new vocabulary, some new words, and remind ourselves of how we think about vocabulary. We're going to use questions that get us thinking out loud. So I'm going to ask with some tasks that you might just be thinking or note-taking. It's not going to be about big amounts of writing. As we go through today's lesson and in other lessons, you might see that there's a sentence with a gap in it. Ideally, you can just write the word that would fill in the gap. Or if you're a more confident, happy writer, write the whole sentence down. But we're really using questions and responses to check our thinking, to make sure that we understand what we read. Okay, so that when we come back together in the class, there's going to be elements here that are familiar, so that when we're working together, we're working on really strengthening our ability to read and understand and to enjoy what we read. So let's think about this book cover. So My Family and Other Animals. Now, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to think about what can you see? Okay, so everybody, what can you see? So if we look at this book cover, I'm going to ask you some questions. Then I'm going to ask you to pause and give yourself, I would say, probably about 3 minutes to think about these answers. Okay, so guys, how many animals can you see? I can see blank animals. So how many would we fill in there? For example, I see, and you could either give me 1 example, 2, depending on how confident you are in naming these animals. So what animals can you see? Now, look at this question. What colours can you see? So what different colours can you see? So I'm going to ask you now to press pause, to use your eye to look at this book cover. How many animals can you see and what colours can you see? So in 3, 2, 1, pause. Right, guys, so hopefully you gave yourself about 3 minutes there. So let's have a look. Now we're going to work from me. So let's have a look. How many animals can we see? So we've got 1 owl, 2 for the frog, a scorpion, so that's 3, a dog, a white dog, that's 4, a seagull, that's 5, a tortoise, that's 6, another dog, so that's 7. Now this lovely thing, now is it a salamander, is it a gecko? But it's a definite reptile, isn't it? So that's number 8. And they do have this sneaky scorpion over here that's come in for 9. So just to check, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 animals. 2 scorpions and 2 dogs, but 9 animals. And some of the examples you might have written down, you might have recognised the dog, the seagull. If you've been on holiday down to maybe Looe or into Cornwall or further into Cornwall, you might have come across a seagull. Okay, we know that they are the sort of animals we get in this country. Okay, lovely, as we do the owls. Scorpions, though. Scorpions may be at the zoo, but really scorpions are a little bit more exotic, aren't they? So look at these lovely scorpions. Now, what colours did you see? Right, good. So we've got this big blue background. We've got a green frog, a black scorpion, a kind of sandy yellow, orange, black, tan, white. So again, it might seem a simple thing, but sometimes when you start to look at the colours of a book cover and you can start to look at the animals or the images, it can already be setting you up to predict, to have some ideas of what the book might be about. It actually can be a way that we can sometimes make choices. You know, when we do AR and we're going down to the library to choose books, sometimes just giving yourself a minute to ask yourself, well, what can I see on the cover? Is it something that interests me? So I'm going to take a wild guess and say you probably wouldn't read this book if you didn't like animals, would you? Yeah, you wouldn't read this book if you weren't a fan of animals. So My Family and Other Animals. Now it says, what can you see in the yellow circle? What words can you see next to the owl? And what do you think the book is going to be about? So on these last ones, the first 2 are still C questions. What words can you see and what can you see in the yellow circle? And then we're allowing what we've seen to help us make this prediction, to answer this question. So when it says, what do you think the book is going to be about? I want you to write down, I think. So what might this book be about? What could a book called My Family and Other Animals be about? So again, I'm going to count you down and then say give yourself, pause if you like, and give yourself about 2 minutes to complete these. So what can you see in the yellow circle? So let's use our eyes. So seeing is all about how we can use eyes, our sight at first. So there's our yellow circle. What number can you see? Write that down. Brilliant. Ready? Write that down. 3, 2, 1. Write it down. Now, what words can you see next to the owl? So let's find our owl. No, that's a dog, tortoise, seagull. Is that an owl? No, it's a different type of bird. Ah, look, the lovely big eyes. I love owls. The beautiful kind of like plumey chest. Okay, so we're looking for the word. So the frog, no, because that's another picture. So let's have a look. So I see the words. So can you write that down for me? What words can you see? So 3, 2, 1. So based on the fact that we've got animals, we've got these lovely blue colour, this like light blue colour, these other bright colours, what do you think this book is going to be about? So just write down, copy and complete the sentence, okay? I think. So in 3, 2, 1, I think this book is about, and write your answer. So guys, at this point, you can just press pause and give yourself the time you need to make sure you've completed those activities. So really what we've just used is the cover of this book and some I see activities using our eyes to help us understand what we see and how that helps us work out a prediction. But now we're going to use vocabulary, so the words to help us think about what we might be reading or thinking about. Now, first of all, we're going to focus on this word bewitching. Now, the Sunday Times is a newspaper, and it says here in these quotation marks that this is bewitching. Now, this then, we see this sometimes on book covers. This is the opinion of the Sunday Times. So the Sunday Times thinks this book is bewitching. So this is a really lovely word. Again, it's quite old-fashioned. We don't use it as much as I think we should, because bewitching means that something is enchanting, it's delightful, it's so good. So I might say, he was a bewitching dancer. She was a bewitching child. Okay, so it's meaning something that's enchanting and delightful, something that captures your attention. It's so good. Okay, now my family, so family obviously relates to the people that he is related to, so maybe brothers, sisters, mother, father, his family, his kin, and other animals. So this is a book about his family and maybe other animals, the things that he loves. So I wasn't too worried about those words, but I did want to check in with this one. Now it says over here in our yellow circle, doesn't it? Anniversary edition. Now an anniversary means the date something took place. And what did we say was the number in that circle? Brilliant. So this is the 50th anniversary edition. So how old is this book, guys? How many years ago was it written? Yeah, brilliant. So this book is 50 years old, but they're celebrating its 50th birthday, and this is a bewitching story. So let's look at this sentence that I'd like you to copy and complete. So if bewitching means, so let's look over here at our vocabulary check. So we're going to say if bewitching means enchanting and delightful, then someone thinks this book is. So what would you choose here? So if bewitching means that something is really enchanting and delightful, do you think that this book is good or bad? So all you need to do for this one, I'm going to count us in. I'm going to say 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And I want you to press pause and copy and complete this sentence. So if bewitching means, then someone thinks this book is, and you've got to decide whether you think it's good or bad. Are you ready? So in 3, 2, 1, pause. Okay, so what do we get? So if bewitching means enchanting and delightful, then someone thinks this book is, say it with me, good. So if you're saying something is bewitching, you've got a good opinion of it. Lovely. Now, if anniversary means, then this book was written how many years ago? So let's put those two ideas together. Okay, so we used our eyes and now we know what the word anniversary means, so let's work it out. So if anniversary means the date something took place, brilliant, then this book was written how many years ago? So again, I'm going to count you in. I'm going to give you a 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and you're going to copy and complete that sentence. So are we ready, guys? 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, so if anniversary means the date that something took place, then this book was written how many years? 3, 2, 1, say it with me. 3, 2, 1, 50 years ago. Brilliant. And then we're going to apply it not to the book, but to ourselves. So guys, I would love you to tell me something you find bewitching. So for me, coming on the back of the summer, I find sunsets bewitching, because I love the way the light kind of catches the sea where I live. I find the sea bewitching because I love the way it kind of has been warm and crystal clear this year. I find my new dog, Ebony, bewitching because she is so enchanting and delightful. So I would love you to give me one sentence of your own. I find this bewitching, something that you find lovely and good, just so I can get to know you. So I find something bewitching because then, very posh way of saying it, isn't it? The anniversary of my birth is on. So actually, when were you born is what I'm asking. So anniversary, remember, is the date something takes place. So the anniversary of my birth is on the 28th of August each year. And if I told you that it was in 1978, you might be able to work out how old I am. Shock horror. I don't look a day over 30. So again, I'm going to ask you to pause, and that's 2 more sentences to write where you're applying it yourself. I find bewitching because, and the anniversary of my birth is on. So press pause. See you in a minute. Okay, guys, so we're revisiting some of this vocabulary work. I know Miss Reed said she was beginning to introduce at the end of last year after you'd done so beautifully with direct instruction and expressive writing. So we're going to think about this new word, pioneering. Now, guys, because we are working remotely, it's very hard because usually in class we would get you to write these words down so you would have a bank of words to keep. I do appreciate that you might, if you're writing on a piece of paper, lose it. So I'm going to talk to you about this word. If you want to write the definition down, you can write down the blue box here, but these other things are just lovely to know. So we're going to look at a new word, pioneering. Now, could you say that with, if you listen to me and then repeat it back, pioneering, pioneering, pioneering. Can you say it? 3, 2, 1, pioneering. I love this word. So this word pioneering means to develop new ideas or ways of doing things. So a pioneering invention or inventor is somebody that is finding new ways or new ideas, new ways of doing things. But it actually comes from the old French term for a foot soldier. Now, it's actually, so it began, this word of pioneer began as a military term. So just pause for a minute. If you like, close your eyes and just imagine a foot soldier. Now, if you know anything about war, and particularly the ways old wars were fought, it was often the foot soldier that would go first. It was often the foot soldier that was literally on the front line, and they would be the first people to walk into territory or into a field where a battle was to be fought. So we like to celebrate a pioneer as being somebody that does things for the first time. But actually, in the olden days, a foot soldier maybe might not have wanted to be called a pioneer because they were often the most at risk, first front line. So over time, we can see how the word has changed a little bit in its meaning, but it's got that lovely link to the old French term for a foot soldier. But for us, it means to develop new ideas or ways of doing things. What a cool word. So here's an example and a non-example. So in one of them, I'm using it correctly. In the others, I've made a mistake. So electric cars are a pioneering example of new technology because electric cars are a new way of doing things, aren't they? Electric cars are a new way of powering cars. So we're not using fossil fuels, we're not using petrol. So that's a correct use of pioneering because it shows that the electric cars are a new idea, they're a new way of doing things. What's wrong with this one then? And again, you might, if we're in class, it'd be lovely to hear your ideas, but you might just need to think about it for a minute. So why is this a non-example? The DVD is a pioneering way to watch films. Anybody still got DVDs? Or are you all now Netflix and Amazon Prime? Right, this is a non-example because the DVD is not a new way. It's not a new idea. Actually, a DVD is pretty old-fashioned now. Yep, I've got about 600 DVDs I need to sell. So because we don't use DVDs anymore, we're downloading, we're watching online, we've got Netflix and other ways that we access films. So this is a non-example because a DVD is not a new idea. It's not a new way of doing things. So if you are you've got a place that you're making these notes, like a Word document or a book, I would encourage you to write down that pioneering means to develop new ideas or ways of doing things. You're going to see this word cropping up next lesson. I'm going to just see what we remember. But I do also appreciate if you haven't, if you're just making notes, you might not want to write the whole definition down. So if you want to, you can pause at this stage. But now we're going to use this new word, pioneering, this idea of developing new ideas or ways of doing things, to get us thinking a little bit more about our novelist, our author, Gerald Durrell. So we're going to just today, is all about getting a bit of background before we start to read it, okay? So we're going to read an extract together. Now, when I say this, I would love you to be reading out loud with what's on screen or following me, or you can just listen with me. Now, we will pause at each full stop, and also whenever we read or come across the new word pioneering. And we're going to think about how many times this word is used, okay? So, My Family and Other Animals by Gerald Durrell. This is a wonderful book because Gerald Durrell, the writer, had such an amazing life. So I'm pausing there. Can you see? Because we've got the full stop. Now, sometimes it's easy when we're reading. We get into the flow of what we're reading. We're thinking about the words. We forget to let our eyes see the punctuation. When I got you to do that first activity, what do you see? It's also to remind us that we need to let our eyes see and respond to punctuation. So is the word pioneer used in this sentence? So let's just have a little look again. This is a wonderful book because Gerald Durrell, the writer, had such an amazing life. Okay, so actually it's telling us, wonderful, that this is a good book, a bewitching book. So it's keeping that positive opinion. And it's telling us that the writer, Gerald Durrell, had an amazing life. But it's not used that word pioneering yet, has it? No. So let's read on. He was, so this he. Okay, so writers will do this. We've got Gerald Durrell introduced by his name here. And now it goes to he, so they don't have to keep saying Gerald Durrell. So this he, who's the he? Gerald Durrell. Okay, lovely. So Gerald Durrell, he was a British, look, there it is, pioneering naturalist, conservationist, author, founder of a unique zoo in Jersey, and a TV presenter. Wow, okay, so we've got our first sighting of pioneering. So let's just remind ourselves, what does pioneering mean? Developing new ideas or ways of doing things. So our Gerald Durrell then is a British pioneering naturalist, conservationist, author, founder of a unique zoo, and a TV presenter. So he is a man, Gerald Durrell, who does things in a new and original way. Yep, he's a pioneering person. He's doing things, think about what we just thought about for pioneering, in a new and original way. He has new ideas, new ways of doing things. Now, lovely old-fashioned word here, or one we don't come across, but a naturalist is somebody who loves natural history. In other words, somebody that loves nature, seeing how things were and how things are now. A conservationist is somebody that wants to protect wildlife, who wants to keep animals safe. So Gerald Durrell is British. He does things in a new and unique way, and he's got a particular focus on the natural history, looking after wildlife. But look, he's also an author, so he's a writer, the founder of a unique zoo in Jersey. So he built an original and unusual zoo in Jersey. And if that wasn't enough, and a TV presenter. So guys, he's a pioneer, our Gerald Durrell. Okay, he was known, so now we're on to our third and final sentence at this stage. He was known for his pioneering. Oh, there we go. Let's just circle pioneering. We'll come back to that in a minute. He was known for his pioneering work in preserving endangered animal species. So Gerald Durrell then, look at the jobs he's got. TV presenter, a writer and author. He opened a zoo. He's saving animals. But he was also known then for his pioneering work. So his new work, his new way of doing things when it came to. Now, although we didn't give you this vocabulary, let's see this bit. When it came to preserving endangered animal species. So in other words, Gerald Durrell came up with new ways to preserve endangered animal species. In other words, to look after, to keep safe animals that were in danger. So he's a bit of a hero of mine. I love animals. I love people that want to keep animals safe, and Gerald Durrell did. So just now to check in. Okay, can you tell me, so you can just make a note of it on your page, or you can circle it if you've got this on your screen, 2 jobs that Gerald Durrell did. So what jobs are mentioned that he did in a new and original way? And what type of animals did he want to help? So he came up with a new and original way of helping what type of animals? So I'm just going to ask you to pause here, okay, and to write down 2 jobs that Gerald Durrell did, and to think and see if you can find the word that tells us what type of animals he wanted to help. Brilliant. Okay, let's see what's coming next. So we did that, didn't we? We looked at, he was developing new ideas of being a naturalist, of looking after animals, looking after wildlife, of creating a new type of zoo, and for looking after animals. What a star, yeah? He's amazing. We haven't even read his life story yet, but he's an interesting character. Now, the last little word for today, inculcated. Inculcated. Say that really quickly. Inculcated. Well, this is a lovely word, and it means to teach an idea or attitude by not giving up on it. In other words, by being persistent. Now, I had a dream once to learn to skateboard. And I had the idea that I would love to be able to skateboard. I also once, when I was younger, really wanted to surf, but I was not very good. I never inculcated these skills because I gave up too quickly. I got embarrassed when I face planted, when I fell off the skateboard and I crashed on the waves. I quickly gave up because although I really wanted, the idea in my head was that I really wanted to do these things, but I gave up. So I wasn't very good at getting inculcated into surfing and skateboarding. Now it comes from the Latin for pressing in. So that's that lovely idea that sometimes we have to learn something or be taught something by pressing in. So even when it's hard, even when we want to give up, we're going to press in to really learn something. It's a really good word for us actually, because I would love us to really press in this term, to not give up and to really learn to love reading. Okay, so there we go. There's my example. The class were inculcated with a love of reading. So the class were taught to love reading by not giving up on it, by being persistently nagged by their teacher. Now let's look at this non-example. After just one go at skateboarding, she was inculcated with a passion for the sport. Now this is wrong because the whole essence of not giving up on something. So if you get something in just one go, but you just pick it up immediately, there are people out there that do that. They just do one thing once and they're brilliant at it. So that would be a different word. It wouldn't be inculcated. Okay, we would look for a different word. So inculcated, it's a lovely word. So we're going to look a little bit more about his life. And as I read, if we find that word inculcated, you can circle it. We'll pause together, okay? But I'd also like you to put a box or think about where this word, this, appears. All right, my lovelies. So here we go. Born in British India. So this is India in the continent. So Gerald Durrell, we're getting more information about him. He was born in British India. Okay, so Gerald Durrell was English or British, but he wasn't born in England. He was born in India. So born in British India, so remember we're learning about Gerald Durrell. So this is all referring to our writer, Gerald Durrell. His younger years were spent on the Greek island of Corfu, where he came across a variety of creatures. So just going to pause at that full stop. So yeah, we're learning more about Gerald Durrell. So where was he born? British India. Now this tells us though that his younger years were spent on the Greek island of Corfu. So he didn't grow up in India, he didn't grow up in England, but he did spend his younger years in Corfu. And what happened there? Well, he came across a variety of creatures. So that's a good sentence. It's telling us where he was born, where he lived, but it's not used our key word yet, has it? Inculcated. So let's see if we can find that. There it is. So inculcated in him a passion for animals. So this taught him. So what's the this? What's taught him a passion for animals? So that means we need to look at this sentence again, don't we? So what taught him to be passionate about animals? What taught him not to give up on animals, but to love animals and to learn about them. This inculcated in him a passion for animals. His time in Corfu. Lovely. So, and he became a champion for the cause of endangered and neglected species. So, this is all the background to Gerald Durrell. So, if inculcate means that Gerald was taught something, what did he learn? We learned that he learned to love. Yes, brilliant. He learned to love animals. So, Gerald learned to love animals. Something about his younger years, his experiences taught him to really love animals. So, where did he learn this? So, he learned this when he lived. So look at our two choices. We know he was born in India, but he didn't live there for very long, okay? So it's not India, is it? So where did he learn to love animals? Where did he come across a variety of creatures? Yes, on the Greek island of Corfu. So we need to complete and copy those sentences, and then that's us covered in our background on Gerald Durrell. So that's our first lesson. Guys, thank you so much. So we've learnt 2 new vocabulary terms today, pioneering and inculcate. We've learnt that we're going to be looking at extracts from a book called My Family and Other Animals, that it's about animals and the writer's family and experiences. It's over 50 years old, but we're going to really enjoy it. Okay, so I can't wait to teach you again and to learn with you tomorrow.